Mohammed Bouazizi. This is a tale of where the most powerless took down the most powerful man in Tunisia, sparking a revolution that swept across northern Africa and parts of the Middle East, the Arab Spring. The basis of this story is the shocking death of one Albert Ojwang in police custody. His death has resulted in huge uproar in Kenya, where the youth have gone into the streets demanding for justice. Speaking at the inquiry into his death at Senate, Kakamega Senator Dr. Boni Kalwale mentioned the events that rocked Tunisia in December 2010. That is the case of Mohammed Bouazizi. Let's look at the video.
CS Murkomen, please, for the respect of this young man, you are yet to grow a child up to the age of 31. Can you immediately resign? You are not fit to be in that docket. Please, I beg you, it is not personal. And if you think I'm joking, you are a well-read man. You know that in 2011, in Tunisia, a street hawker by the name of Mohammed Bouazizi was killed. And people came into the streets and the government of President Ben Ali was overthrown. You truly don't know what you're playing with. Please resign. You cannot be an inspiration to be in cabinet.
The mention of Mohammed Bouazizi sparked my interest and I decided to look into his story. Mohammed Bouazizi was a Tunisian street vendor who set himself on fire on 17th December 2010 in Sidi Bouzid, Tunisia, an act which became a catalyst for the Tunisian revolution and the wider Arab Spring against autocratic regimes. Mohammed's father worked in Libya but died of heart failure when Mohammed was just 3 years old. So from an early age, Mohammed supported his mother and 6 siblings. Bouazizi lived in a modest home, a 20-minute walk from the center of Sidi Bouzid, a rural town in Tunisia. According to his friends and family, local police officers had been targeting and mistreating Bouazizi since his childhood, regularly confiscating his produce cart. "I'm so fed up and tired," he had told his cousin Lazard, who controlled taxes in the market. "I can't breathe anymore." Corruption within the police and among government officers was common. The police always harassed Mohammed because he did not have a permit. They demanded bribes from him. Either he had to give them the money, part with everything he had earned that day, or they would confiscate his skills or his merchandise. On the morning of 17th December 2010, police had confiscated Mohammed's skills because he was working as a street vendor without a permit. He went to complain to the governor at the provincial government building in Sidi Bouzid, but he refused to see him. In an act of sheer desperation and protest, Mohammed set himself alight on the street outside. Soon the video was being widely shared, and that evening news channels started to report on what had happened. The government panicked when the news reached the international media. Ben Ali controlled all the Tunisian media and was afraid of the freedom of expression. Mohammed was in a coma in the hospital and was unaware of all the protests triggered by his self-immolation. Bouazizi was visited in hospital by then President Ben Ali, who promised to send him to France for medical treatment. According to Bouazizi's mother, Benobia, no such transfer ultimately occurred, leading to criticism. By the time he died from his burns 2.5 weeks later, on January 4th, several dozen protesters had been arrested, particularly young protesters who had stayed all night confronting the police. On January 14th, the regime fell and President Ben Ali fled the country, ending his 23-year reign. The protests then spread to Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Syria, and Bahrain, causing regime changes. Many Arabs in the Middle East and North Africa regard Bouazizi as a hero and inspiration. He is credited with galvanizing the frustrations of the region's youth against their governments into the mass demonstrations, revolts, and revolutions that have become known as the Arab Spring. Even with Tunisia undergoing a somewhat peaceful transition, it is reported that there have been few changes to the working classes. In some instances, extremist groups like ISIS and ISIL have taken over to fill the void left by the toppled regimes through acts of terrorism and coercion. The revolution has led in its wake the deaths of 1 to 1.5 million people. From this story, we learn that indeed the most powerless can take down the most powerful, and that everyone is someone. The Kenyan government should provide speedy justice to the late Albert Ojwang, lest the collective anger of the country, which has been building up, turns into an uncontrollable monster.